I have 2 children and 2 fuzzy children. I have 2 dogs. And I have a very supportive, wonderful husband. So when I'm not here, I'm always with them. I thought I was going to be a full-time artist. And even at parts in medical school, I thought that I would be like a medical illustrator or, something along those lines. I couldn't just draw the body. I had to understand it. I had to take it apart and study it. So now my art is an outlet. Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you. You see patients and you do clinical work in hopes of bettering their life quality and longevity, and the research is exactly the same. Patients inspire my research. My whole foundation of my research is to try to prevent sudden death. And so for that, and especially as it relates to inherited arrhythmia disorders, but also in the broader scope of acquired heart disease as well. So in that setting, changes and progress we've made are somewhat incremental, but I think, that's how you get to the top of the mountain. I've done, I think, some really interesting work in the field of long QT research. We've been looking at specific proteins that interact with the electrical channels in the heart, and that causes arrhythmias related to long QT syndrome. And that interaction was first described from this lab and was funded by my American Heart grant. The American Heart Association grant was a total game changer for me and my research. It really gave me funding to be able to make big steps in not just ask the questions and say, oh gee, I wonder, if we looked at this, could we find something? You could ask the questions, and then the funding allowed me to establish the lab and get my research off the ground. The budget cuts to NIH have been so restrictive for the forward progression of real science that we are at risk of losing an entire generation of scientists, and not just the scientists, but also an entire generation of progress in research. Funding from the American Heart Association is not possible at all without generous donations. And without the American Heart Association's funding of research, then things that I do, things that I think are important, high-end research across the country doesn't exist without those donors. So all scientists that are funded from American Heart are indebted to each and every one of those donors that gives so generously.